To look at. I want to do something different. Current events have always been so doom and gloom recently. It's always depressing. It's like sexual assault and violence. No, not today. Today we start off with good news current events. Finally. And I'll do it better. It's good news about North Korea. I never get to do this story, right? North Korea, good news. Here we go. Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un have been talking a lot recently. Shh. Stop talking, please. And they are talking recently about the release of 3 American prisoners who were released from North Korea just a few weeks ago. That is great news for us. This never happens. North Koreans do not release American prisoners. And you may notice that all 3 of them, all 3 have the surname Kim, which is very popular in Korea in general. And all 3 of these Kims were released by Kim Jong-un. Oh, it's a fun story. Look, everyone wins, everyone's happy, no one dies. And there's more, because Donald Trump has said, when asked about his relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, who gets along with no American president, that it started off with tough talk. These are all real Donald Trump quotes from yesterday's press conference. It started with tough talk between the 2 of them, but he wrote me beautiful letters, referring to the letters that Kim Jong-un has written. It was adorable. And then Donald Trump caps it off with this real comment that he said yesterday, "We fell in love." That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. That's We're best friends with a brutal dictator who murders his people. You know what? We'll take. We need some good news. Now, on to the rest. Before we get started, first off, what would happen if we took Trump's and Kim Jong-un's haircuts and swapped them? I feel like we have to know the answer to this. I found this photo right here. I don't even know which one I like better. It's like picking between your children. No, obviously, right? Okay. All right. Big story for today. Here it is. Talking today about steel, ladies and gentlemen. Steel in the United States, specifically about what's happened to it. Is steel doing well or poorly in America? Poorly is correct. In fact, U.S. steel production has dropped, as has the price of steel itself. Are you still working on your notebook yet? Time away. And this has happened for a couple of reasons. Why is steel dying off in America? There's a couple of reasons for this. Raise your hands. Right?
We're running out.
All right, so we are, there's less resources in America, absolutely true.
We're importing more.
We are importing a lot more steel, especially from one country that makes a ton of it, very cheaply, which is China, right? And what this means is if you look at like steel production in general, America is quite low, but China has a huge amount of steel coming out that's very cheap. And it's bad news if you happen to work for an American steel plant. Now, as a result, Donald Trump has announced his plan to solve this, which is a tariff plan. What is a tariff? It's creepy how you all said exactly the same thing at the same time, but you are correct. In fact, the tariff is a tax on anything coming into the country from a foreign country. We do this sometimes to keep American products competitive. We will tax like Japanese cars at like 3%. Just a little bit to make sure that our cars are bought more often. In general, we don't do big tariffs, but Donald Trump has announced that instead of a 3% tariff on steel, he's going with a 25% tariff.
Oh, wow.
This is unheard of and does not happen, and there are reasons it doesn't happen. So the thing is, first off, economists in general think tariffs are a bad idea. America doesn't really do them anymore, and we'll talk about why in a second. But this was so controversial that his top economic advisor resigned rather than go through with his plan, which is maybe not a great sign, and yet here we are. The stock market took a dive on the day this was announced because the stock market thought it would be a bad idea also. And let's talk first off about why you get the tariff. So the good side, who is this good for?
America.
Good job.
More specific with America, it is the people who work in American steel. If you're an American steel worker, this is incredible news for you. There's more work, there's more jobs, there's more money. But there's a problem with that, which is that there aren't very many people that make American steel. Like, we do not as a country produce stuff anymore. Like we did in World War II and World War I, we are a service industry. People provide services. Your parents probably don't make stuff with their bare hands. They are doctors, lawyers, accountants. You can work at Starbucks, and that's a service. I don't create anything physical. I just spew knowledge into your brains. It's totally different. That's a service industry, which is what America is. So while this is good for American jobs, there's not a lot of jobs in steel to begin with. And there are like serious downsides. Who pays the tax? Do you know? It is you, the consumer, because anything that is made with steel, that cost is not paid by the company. They raise their prices and you pay more when you buy it. So for example, take cars, which were made with a lot of steel, and the price of cars is going to go up because people either buy more expensive American steel now, or the tariff steel, which is even more expensive than that, and the average car cost is expected to go up by about $200. So whenever you buy your next car, it's an extra $200 that comes out of your pocket, not out of China's. The other problem is the people we buy steel from, it's not just China that we're punishing, it's all of these countries, including some of our biggest friends like Germany and Japan. Canada is our biggest supplier of steel, and Canada was outraged when this happens. We pissed off Canada, ladies and gentlemen, which is almost impossible to do, and yet here we are. So this could, even worse, escalate to something called a trade war, because if we put a tariff on one Chinese product, steel, what will China do? Put a tariff on our thing, and then we'll go back and put a tariff on their stuff. Back and forth, until there's tariffs on everything, and this is very possible that this happens. So Trump has already talked about this, and he's actually said that trade wars are good and easy to win, so we'll see if that's true or not. But China, they are definitely stepping up to the plate on this. 13 countries have already signed an agreement against America, against one specific product.
Even Canada.
Cows. Does America have a big beef industry? Do you know?
Yeah.
We sell a ton of cow parts to other countries in the world. Under this agreement, these 13 countries, if they sell beef, it is a 0% tariff. But if they buy American beef, it is a 38% tariff. So this is them essentially saying, you tariff us, we tariff you, this will go back and forth forever. And we sell a lot more cows than we do steel, so this is a big issue for us. On top of that, China specifically is not messing around. They've announced major tariffs not on one, but on two products. China announced just a few weeks ago they will put major tariffs on two products. The first is whiskey, and the second one is motorcycles. And if those seem like random products to you, they are not. Because bourbon, specifically, bourbon can only be made in one state. Legally, it has to be made in one state. No. It's fine if you don't know. It's Kentucky, yes. And Harley Davidson motorcycles are made in what state?
New Mexico.
Yes. No. They're made in Wisconsin. And the reason for this is specific, because that turns out that Kentucky and Wisconsin, that's where the leaders of Congress are from. This is the House of Representatives leader, he's from Wisconsin. This is the Senate leader, he's from Kentucky. They are the ones that get the worst by this. Their voters are the ones who will be angry out of jobs because of these tariffs. It's pretty smart for China to do this. Now, they've gone to President Trump and told him not to do the tariffs, to back down. Can Congress stop the tariff from happening?
No.
Well, hold on, they're Congress. What do?
They balance.
Nothing is accurate.
Check and balance.
They can literally just make a law that says the tariff is impossible or won't work. But if they do that, what can Trump do back?
Trump.
Veto.
Veto, right? So it is. It's kind of this check and balance situation where we're not sure if we can actually stop Trump from doing it. And China today announced new tariffs as well. And new tariffs will be on American beef industry again, and also on corn and soybeans. Who makes that? Us! Those are the biggest imports or exports from Illinois and all the states around us. Now this is again very specific. If you look at the states here that are going to get the worst by these tariffs, they all have something in common, except for Illinois. Anyone know what they all have in common?
They're not
It's a good guess, but no. All of these states, besides Illinois, voted for Donald Trump in the election. So China is targeting all of the states that went for Trump as a way of basically telling him not to. It's smart. All right, last thing I'm going to say before we move on is that one item in particular is affected by these imports, which was maybe unexpected, and that is all of Donald Trump's re-election signs. They have already started production on all of these. They will all be hit by a tariff, and the reason for it is that all of Donald Trump's re-election signs are made in China. So they will all now have to be paid a larger price, larger taxes, and shipped back to America. So keep America great, ladies and gentlemen. All right? I'm going to stop with one final thing, which is Donald Trump talking about China at the press conference yesterday. He was asked, what's your relationship with China now as this trade war escalates? And this was his response. Take a look.
I like China, and I like President Xi a lot. I think he's a friend of mine. He may not be a friend of mine anymore, but I think he probably respects. From what I hear, if you look at Mr. Pillsbury, the leading authority on China, he was on a good show, I won't mention the name of the show, recently, and he was saying that China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain. He said,
Okay, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Respect for Trump. A brain. All right. Let's jump.